We will go through the tabs here, the summary, which is just the overall email that you would normally send to your client. Go through the grand totals sheet, which is really a cover sheet. Go through the bid rates, where you pretty much set all the variables. The asset bid breakdown area, where you break down your assets. The shot templates area, where you can create templates or import them from another spreadsheet. The shot breakdown area, where you break down your shots. The totals tab, the payment schedule and cash flow crew plan, which is a really good way of projecting the costs and the crew. And then a little bit about OpenAI integration. There's also a profit planner spreadsheet we'll touch upon, which has an area where you insert links to OpenBIDs, and then you can do crew planning, and then a general cash flow overstaffed and understaffed chart that you can manage as well. We will also be using the OpenBID toolkit menu items as well, and I'll show you how those go, like how to export to ShotGrid and other things like that. Okay, let's get started. So there are step-by-step guides on all of these spreadsheets, and we'll just go through this one. One thing to note is all of these tabs have protected ranges. So when you're sharing it with your team, they can only edit certain cells. And obviously you can edit what those cells are, but by default they're all set for you. And another thing to note is when you give comment permissions to one of your department heads or with your client even, they cannot see hidden tabs, collapse, or hidden rows or columns. So that's a good way to just condense everything, share it, and then they can't access any of that data. Let's go to the first tab, which is the summary. So this grabs all the information from the grand totals and makes a summary table and gives you a little sample email, which you can then edit as you wish, just using this as a template. Quite straightforward. There's the grand totals area where you would put in your logo if you wish, a big logo, and your info and your client info for the project, and any discounts you want to give. As you can see, there are comments all over this spreadsheet, probably hundreds of them, and they act as tooltips and should guide you through if you have any questions. If you see any simple formulas, for example, any replace me formulas like that, they're just giving you default values and you are meant to replace those formulas. So this is very straightforward, all the assets and shots or sequences. Fill in your onset costs here, and then any specific project assumptions or budget exclusions. These payment terms are set automatically later on. So in your bid rates, it's quite straightforward. Put in any rates you wish, the overhead per day, default markup, client budget if you manage to get your hands on it. These are your departments. You can replace them with your own values, obviously, and they can be empty as well. And yes, you just put in your rate and the markup, and then the final rate is calculated for you. Or you can just put in a final rate if you wish. If you do though, you won't get good costing. So you want to put in the costs to you so you can do profit projections, which are here. So this is quite nice that you can see the projected cash flow for this project, and you can come in and modify and tune the rates, because that always happens really. You tune the rate to fit the bid. And your onset supervisor and data wrangler costs as well. So then after setting the bid rates, you start breaking down assets. Simple, just give it an asset name, thumbnail, description, set the type of asset and the difficulty. The difficulty number is in Fibonacci numbers. 1 is the easiest you can think of, and 2 is double that. So really what I'm trying to find any numbers that are really high. Don't really care about the single digit numbers, but this allows you to quickly evaluate when there are very complicated things inside of your bid. The full asset name is generated automatically. The director notes and your company notes, the times used, it's obviously automatically calculated for you and gives you a way to highlight orphaned assets, which I've actually seen bids go out with orphaned assets. And the episode block is calculated for you as well. And the emit, and then you just bid it out. Quite straightforward, nothing complex here really, just as you would imagine. And then it calculates the dollar costs or whatever currency you're in and gives you some totals, and you can modify the markup there as well. There are lots of checks in this. It will show you if you have duplicate asset names and orphaned assets, stuff like that. There are hashtags in here too, which will list any of the hashtags that have been created, and you can create or edit the default hashtags as well on the hashtag sheet. which we won't go into. And anything else here in assets? I think that's it. Obviously you can hide the groups. So then you would do some shot templates, maybe create some shot templates or import them from a main spreadsheet. And then you would bid out your shots. So I've thrown in some example shot IDs here. If you're using a template, all you have to do is hit F2 twice and pick a template from the list. So say I'm using this template, and it will load it up and use it as defaults. As you can see, there are lots of replace me functions which you just replace with your own values. So it just gives you the defaults from that template, but you can replace any of these replace me or update any of these replace me formulas with your own values, and it will highlight it as well. So you can always see where you've overridden a template. And it's a spreadsheet as well, so you don't be scared. You can just grab it, copy it up. It's just a spreadsheet. Nothing too fancy. So have courage. So let's say we've done a bid here. Let's just throw in some random numbers. And quite often it happens where you've created an example and you realize, oh, actually I want to turn this into a template. It happens quite often. So you've got the toolkit where you can convert the current shot to template. So now it's taken those values, put them into the template, and then referred back to that template. You can always jump to the templates here. And you can see, here's that example template and those numbers. And if I was to change one of them, obviously it will update. And if I was to change this name, it will update the shot as well. As you can see, 10. So that's quite straightforward. Same type of difficulty. Episode block if you want to override it, and the standard info you would get from your client. The director VFX notes, your company notes, and then the standard things that you would set for plate photography, approved artwork, clean plate, stuff like that. That's pretty much it. Oh yes, obviously cuts. If I want to make 10 of these, it updates, and this is the same checks, or this has the same checks as well. If any of these names are duplicates, you'll see errors, and if there are assets missing, you'll see errors as well. I think that's it. Obviously you can omit shots and it takes it out of the totals. It's quite simple. What else is here? Oh yes, thumbnails. So I've got that little DALL-E section, which is just for fun really. But say we generated some storyboard images from here. I have a way to get them off of the OpenAI website by using the download DALL-E images. This will create a folder in your root. It will be prepended by the name of the sheet you're in, and it's put it into the OpenBID toolkit files project and called thumbnails. So if I was to go to that thumbnails directory, here they are. And as I said, you can see it's in the drive. You can rename or move this folder as you wish, and the files will still find it and be put into that folder. But it's put into your root by default. Now I've downloaded those images from OpenAI, I can actually insert them. I go to my ShotGrid breakdown and use the toolkit again, insert thumbnail images and place it in here. You can see the two images, and then you can highlight a cell and insert them. But if you have a folder with matching shot names to your image names, like you see here, you can click the auto insert, and that will look for every shot name that matches an image name and insert all the thumbnails for you, which is quite handy. There you go. So what else is there? Oh yes, you can insert YouTube chapters. So say you've been given a private YouTube video which has the reel, only you and your client has access to. You can put in that URL. So this is a private YouTube video, and you can load in the chapters. The chapters are quite easy to make. You just put in the time code and it allows you to jump to that shot in the reel. So I could highlight one of these and insert the URL to the time code. You can now see there's a link. And just like the thumbnail images, if the shot IDs match the chapter name, you can auto insert, and it will go through each one and create a link to the correct time code from that private YouTube video, which is obviously quite powerful because then I don't have to jump around looking for the shot. I can now just see the shot. I can just click on that and play it. I think that's it really. You just do the bids. You can see now in the totals which is quite straightforward. Shows your overhead, income, and expenses. Then the cool part is the payment schedule. So I can modify the payment schedule as I wish. Say I want to get 20% there, and I can change this text. But that is highlighted on the grand totals. You see now it's included that on the payment terms. So it's got the projected income. You can see the kind of projected cash flow for this bid. And if you obviously modify any of these numbers, you can see how it modifies your bid. So it's quite powerful to kind of see things in context. Also, here's the planned expenses. So this is the costs to you where you put in the day rates from your team and when those members are being committed on the bid days, because on the ShotBid breakdown, there is a start week. So you can delay the start of this shot. This starts on the very first day, for example, now. And you can see that updated in the costs to you. So that's the costs to you. Then below here is the people needed on those days to get those tasks done. And then it automatically creates a crew plan for you. So here is how many people needed, how many are assigned, and then the compounded difference. So obviously I see this in nearly every company, is that they don't calculate very accurately the compounded number of people needed when you delay crew being added to a show. So this does that. So right now it gives you the best time to put crew on or take crew off. But let's say I can't get crew on. You can see how it's compounding. Okay, so now I'll add one person to offset that. And then it automatically takes the crew off at the end for you. But really what you're trying to do is just flatten this graph so you don't have too many or too few in your team. So that's that. This whole sheet can get pasted into a profit planner. Here are the links that you paste in, and then you can actually pick which bid you want to load in if you wish. It automatically adds them here, but if you want to do some scenario planning and make different bids, you can put them in here and then see how that affects your crew plan. To do the crew plan, you set the start date and then start assigning. So say I have no people in software and I've got no people in my concept design. You can see, okay, I need to get someone at some point. It's showing what the problems are as it starts to kind of compound. So you get 9 people on by that date. You can see how those projects have fed into your global crew plan for just these two, but you can obviously put hundreds of bids into this. And also you can put these profit planners into themselves. So I could paste this URL into another profit planner and it will take that as a group. So you can kind of group your bids if you wish. Like you can have just Netflix bids or Amazon bids or streaming bids, whatever you wish. So that's the crew plan, and it gives you a total up here. And then you can see the cash flow, understaffed and overstaffed chart here. So this has those two projects. So you can select which project you want to load in. It's looking at all of them. You can set the date range, the studio, format, director, etc., currency. And it also shows you projected overstaffed or understaffed as you've assigned your crew. So what else is there? Oh yes, so once you've done the bid and you've checked it with your crew plan that you actually have enough people, you probably want to version up your bid. So what this does, it creates a duplicate and puts it into a backup folder, updates the bid number version, and it also copies that last bid here. And now this is the current bid that you're working in, this is live, and these are just values from the previous bid. Let me just undo that. One cool feature is that you can use comments to track questions with your client or with your department heads. All I do is just right click and insert comment. You can mention your client or whatever. But if you do want to discuss it with your client, you obviously don't want to show them a bunch of info in here. So you can use the extension from OpenBID Toolkit and do prep sheet to share with client. Basically, this hides a bunch of sheets and hides a bunch of columns and rows, so it looks very clean when you're sharing with your client. You can see all the rates are hidden. And as long as you share it with your client with comment-only permissions, they cannot see or do anything with these groups or hidden ranges or hidden tabs. So you could share it with your client temporarily using the share menu, up here the share button, and just share it for a few days and allow them to discuss it in line. So you can get through the bid much quicker instead of having a long email chain, which is a nightmare, where they bullet point all the changes they want. You can just share the sheet and just discuss inside of the comment, which is very powerful. And obviously you can undo that. So once they don't have access anymore, you can undo it and reveal all of the items. So now everything's back. You can see all the values, the bid rates are back. But if you don't want to do it that way, you can do it the old school way and just create a PDF. So what that does, it builds a backup just like it did before, versioned up this bid, and then gives you a link to that backup to export the PDF. That's done deliberately so you can see this PDF before you export it and modify it if you wish. So you can see this whole backup of bid 1. I can change the name specifically and that will update the PDF name. And then when I just go download as PDF, and this is a backup file. So you want to keep that backup file linked to that PDF so you never have to, it never gets changed. So you want to keep it secure. So this is the new version. So as you see, the bid number has been updated and the summary has been updated as well. So here's the new version. The client always wants to see the previous bid numbers so they can compare how it's progressing over the bidding rounds. One last thing, I think. Yes. If you wish, you can export it to ShotGrid. So that takes the asset view and the shot bid breakdown and formats it for ShotGrid and exports it as CSV files. Those are put into an export folder. Yeah, CSV folder, sorry. So that is it. I think I've covered everything. So we went through all of the tabs, the summary, the grand totals, which is the main kind of cover sheet. I missed anything here? I don't think so. The bid rates and these cool graphs. And you can adjust all these numbers. The asset bid breakdown, which has everything in here. Yeah, I haven't missed anything there. The shot templates. This has tags as well. And the hashtags are listed throughout the spreadsheet. And the shot bid breakdown, which you can insert thumbnails and chapters and use templates and cuts. You can override markups, yep, set the start weeks, yep. And then the totals sheet, which is self-explanatory really, gives you all your bid days versus kind of costs or what you're charging. Then the payment schedule and cash flow crew plan. So we went through that and the graphs. This chart here also shows you when you're moving people on and off the show as well, the department assignment changes. Oh yeah, if you hide any or minimize these groups, it hides them from these charts so you can just focus on a few if you wish. And then we kind of covered the ChatGPT and DALL-E part. The ChatGPT is quite interesting where you can get it to generate a whole bunch of text for you. This is automatically set up to create shot titles, because I always hate creating shot titles for 500 shots. And this does this for you by just looking at the corresponding row. So you can just copy and paste these shot titles in if you wish. And then we went over the profit planner, which is here. Yeah. We went through where you can insert the links and select the different versions or scenarios you want to look at of the bids, and do global crew planning and see the graph of projected income for all of your bids for a particular time period, whatever you set under your date range, and also see the overstaffed or understaffed across all of those proposed projects. It's quite powerful, and that you can put these OpenBID profit planners inside of themselves and use them as groups. And then we went over a few of the extensions. So yeah, that pretty much covers everything. So I salute you in wanting to create open standards for visual effects bidding. I think doing so will really help alleviate a lot of pain for the artists and save us a lot of time. So feel free to reach out to me in the comments or chat or email, and I look forward to your feedback.